the guide. That is what the sequencer is at the core of Beatmaker 3. The sequencer is where you have a complete view of your project, the tracks you put together, the loops you make, and it aligns your material to a fixed tempo grid. Here, there are three main divisions of editors you can use: the song editor, the scenes editor, and the pattern editor. Understanding the sequencer and how it works in tandem with the rest of Beatmaker 3 is crucial in building a refined creative process. So we'll be breaking down how to edit your loops, patterns, and tracks using the tools provided in the sequencer's timeline view. In the pads tutorial, we broke down how to work with pads and created a loop. Now we'll continue working with this loop, and through editing, show how our sequencer tools can help us edit our recordings. To get more familiar, let's dive into the sequencer view. Here we have a timeline that shows us our entire project in measures. At the top, we have our playback functions. On the left, we have our transport toolbar, which we can use to access the other sections of our project. Next to that is a stack of organized tracks. Here we have the two banks that were made in the pads tutorial, and we can solo or mute them. Below our default main output, we have a plus button, which enables us to add more tracks. Here, there are three types you can use: pad banks, covered in the last tutorial, which let you assign sounds to a trigger pad; audio tracks, where you can record your own audio as well as import larger pre-recorded sounds; and aux tracks. At the bottom, you can use these three tools to move around and edit your project. The first being the finger tool, which allows you to move around the sequencer with a one-finger gesture. The second being the marquee selection tool, which can be used to select specific parts of the sequencer grid. And the third being the split tool, used for splicing patterns and clips. Now that we're familiar with our tools, we can begin working on our patterns. Once we tap on the pattern we want to edit, we can see a number of controls pop up below. Clicking the edit button takes us right in, and now we can see an editing grid where our recorded notes are stored. We can zoom in or out to get a better view, and we can see which pads have been recorded by looking to the left, telling us the names of each individual sound. Below the sample names, we can see the track editing tools that were mentioned previously, like the one finger and marquee selection tools. For example, we can use the finger tool to hold on a note and move it, extend it, or tap once to delete it. You can also tap anywhere on the grid to add a note without having to go back and re-record. Using the square marquee tool, we can select a batch of notes and move them as needed. Next to these are new tools that let you tap to create new patterns by holding on the grid. If you double tap, you can easily batch select all the recorded notes to move or trim. So, we're going to use some of these tools here to make some adjustments and fine-tune this pattern a bit. Since the notes inside our pattern have now been edited, the pattern can be trimmed, repeated, duplicated, or looped. We even have an option to delete it if we're feeling particularly unsatisfied with what we've made. And that, in a nutshell, is the sequencer view. Since this is where you'll most likely be spending a lot of your time editing and assembling your projects, having a good grasp on how the timeline works is pretty important. As you continue to work with patterns, loops, and more, you'll find yourself quickly becoming more acquainted with a solid editing routine in your process.